this video, we're gonna explore the history of tanks during World War II. As you know, tanks had a crucial role in shaping the outcome of the war. Each country possessed a variety of tanks, which we're gonna speak about them on this video. So be with us. At the first of the World War II, tanks were so heavy, they were thick armored, they were thick armed, they were not very powerful, and they were slow. But at the end of the war, by the efforts of engineers, they became powerful, light, fast, and also they could even flank the enemy. The first of all, we're gonna explore the Axis tanks, and the first of them is Germany. Germany was one of the leading producers of the tanks during World War II. Tanks of Germany had high quality, and they were very furious, and they were highly effective on the war. The first tank and one of the most important tanks which Germany used to develop and produce them was the Panzer Ivy. It was the most significant tank which Germany used to produce, and it was used to support infantry troops on the ground and also for tank battles against, for example, Allied or Soviet Union tanks. And it was very effective, as you know, and you might have seen it on the movies. It possessed a 75mm gun, which was a very strong gun, and it had a thick armor. It was also very fast and could flank the enemies. The other tank Germany possessed was the Tiger tanks, which were heavily armed, and they possessed an 88mm gun, which was a very strong gun against other tanks, meaning enemy tanks for Germans. The next Axis country is Italy. Italy produced a range of tanks. As you know, Italy's tanks were not very strong against other countries. They were light and weak. They used their M1340 tank during the North Africa's war. They possessed a 74mm gun, and they were lightly armed. Next Axis country is Germany. They had a variety of tanks during the war, and they used to develop them also. They were not very effective against other countries' tanks. For example, their tanks couldn't do very much in compared with American tanks. They were soon destroyed, and they couldn't do very much. One of their tanks was a Type 97 tank, which was widely used by them, especially in Pacific Wars. It possessed a 57mm gun, and it was lightly armed. Next country, we're gonna enter the Allied countries. Next country is Soviet Union. They produced a large number of tanks during the war, and the most significant tank was the T-34, as you know. The crew of tanks in Soviet Union were so willing to work on this tank and use it in the battles in compared with other tanks which Soviet Union possessed. It had a Slav armor which could help it to defend against enemy fire, and it had a good protection because of that. It had a 76 millimeter gun, which was effective enough against other countries' tanks, especially Germany, and they were heavily armed, and that's an important tip for us to know. Other tanks which which Soviet Union possessed were KV-1 and KV-2 heavy tanks, which had some powerful guns. The next allied country is United States, which, as you know, the most significant tank of them were Sherman tanks, M4 Sherman tanks. They possessed a 75 millimeter gun, and they were effective against most of German tanks. They were very fast, and they were used to flank or out maneuver enemies, especially in Europe. Next country is the Great Britain. They used to produce a variety of tanks, for example, Matilda, Churchill, and Cromwell. Churchill was a heavy tank which possessed a 75 millimeter gun. It was thick armored. And it was effective, as you know, against German tanks. There were some tank battles during the World War II. One of the most important of them was the Kursk battle between Soviet Union on one hand defending, and Germans on the other hand attacking to Soviet Union. Both countries suffered a lot. During the battle. The battle lasted for weeks, and by the end of the battle, by suffering very heavy losses, Soviet Union could emerge the victorious country from the battle. We will discuss this matter more in our next video. Be with us there. If you like this video, please like it and introduce us to your friends. Also, if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe the channel and follow our contents. Thank you.
Retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the